I can be myself. Large change in a short amount of time. I lost even more weight.
Teach you the right diet.
No one believes you. Manipulated by yourself. It's not worth it.
Hello, you guys, and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Maya.
I'm Viola.
And this is the second episode of our conversations about Viola's anorexia story. And in the first episode, we covered the topic of pre-recovery journey, where Viola opened up about basically her struggles because she has never talked about that openly. I got to know Viola's story deeper. And this episode will be about recovery and what comes after anorexia. We are really close friends, but we have never talked about this so deeply. So I also got to know a lot of things about her.
I guess it was a real step out of my comfort zone.
I get it. It has to be really hard.
Not only was I talking to you in real time about it and having to open up about it with you, but knowing that I'm putting it out into the world and basically anyone can listen to it was kind of uncomfortable, but I kind of saw the higher purpose in it and it felt worth it. So I hope it was. And I hope that it will help some of you understand the topic better, or possibly even help some of you with recovery if you're on that journey as well.
That's exactly our point, that we just want to share this journey that probably most people that go through this don't want to share with the world, and just let you know, guys, that you're not alone in this, and if you need help, we're here for you. So just a small reminder for you. So the first question to start off is, when did you find your turning point? When you realized that what you're going through is not okay and you have to somehow recover? What got you there?
So obviously, as I even mentioned in the previous episode, I knew that it was not okay what I was doing and that it was ruining my health and so on, but I was in this sort of quasi-recovery stage where I thought I was getting better, but I actually wasn't, and I was getting even worse. And then I have to admit this, even though I will endlessly hate on being hospitalized and being in the hospital and the system of hospitalizing for eating disorders, the first thing that really pushed me, and the point where I knew that if I don't recover now, I will basically ruin my entire life, was when I got into hospital. So I will give that to them. They low-key did save my life, but it was not definitely in a way that I would personally approve of. We will dive into that deeper later. This was the point when I could not avoid the issue anymore. I could not mask it. It was when I actually had to face all of those fears that I had and fully dive into full recovery, whatsoever. I had no choice because obviously I was a minor and I was not 18. So I had to follow whatever I was ordered by the doctors and by parents and by law. So honestly, the thing that got me into turning fully into recovery was the hospital, but it was definitely not a way that would be pleasurable.
Mm-hmm. And how did you perceive the fact that when you were about to go into the hospital, you had to understand, right, that you can't do sports. You have to listen to the doctors. Whatever they say, you just have to do, because if you don't, then there will be punishment, literally. You have to eat a certain amount of calories a day. You have to eat the food they give you. You can't just go randomly somewhere and choose whatever you want to. And as previously, right, you ate your food, which you thought was healthy. But now they gave you probably food that had more, maybe protein, more fats in it, and you just had to accept it. How did this go in your head? How did you get used to it?
So it actually, in the hospital, there was also this little issue that I lost even more weight while I was there for the first 2 weeks, because they ended up not setting my calories right and they ended up underfeeding me in the hospital. I was literally even more hungry at the hospital the first 2 weeks than I was when I was feeding myself at home.
That's crazy.
Which is, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I don't want to talk numbers, but I lost weight. And they obviously, first they thought that I was cheating, that I was throwing up, which I was never doing. And I had all these false accusations against me, and I could not really fight it because no one was believing me, because if you're in a mental hospital for a mental disorder, no one believes you, and they all think that you're incapable of putting together cohesive thoughts. So no one believes you. You have to just accept that. Your voice is absolutely, it means nothing, literally. So I was accused of throwing up, and then when I finally like decided to confront the dietitians that I had, like saying, "Hey, like I'm hungry on your diet. Like how am I supposed to gain weight here?" They were like apologizing, and then finally they kind of accepted the fact that they made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So then they started to increase my food, and they did it like slowly, kind of. I think it was in the beginning, it was something like 300 ish calories a day, like every single day, until they reached about like 4,000 even. Yeah, that was like probably the peak. But that's not really important. It's just, it was a lot of food.
And how much bigger of amount of calories was it than your usual intake before the recovery? Was like a lot more? Was it like hard for your even body to adapt to it?
That's why they did it slowly. They didn't like jump straight into those large numbers. Because there is this thing called refeeding syndrome, which can literally kill you if you get it. So that means when you jump from starvation to extreme amounts of food, or even like if you're in actual like starvation mode when there is a famine or something, then people, if they suddenly start to eat even a normal amount of food, they may die because their digestive system isn't used to that. So that's why they did it like day by day. But it was, I really don't want to give out specific numbers because I know it's not helpful. But it was more than double.
Okay,
so
that's crazy.
Yeah, and the issue is that, there can be a double amount of calories, mostly, for example, in fats, which is a lot more easy to digest, or like it's at least not that large of a volume of food. And there can be a double of calories, mostly in cooked carbs, which is so painful.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the hospital, of course you're gonna get food that is bought on a budget, and the cheapest is bread, rice, and pasta, right? So you're gonna get these huge amounts of cooked carbs that literally, like, it's like 400 grams of just the carb portion that I was eating, like cooked, obviously, but still, it's so much food, and that is like for the main meal. So you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then you have 3 snacks. So you are eating all these huge amounts of carbs along with some protein, but again, we're on a budget, so we were not getting much protein, which was another like weird thing, because I feel like if you're trying to teach someone to eat properly again, you should be feeding them a balanced diet that is giving them all the macro and micronutrients, which I know it can be hard on a real tight budget, especially with Czech hospitals and the hospital system here. But it's still, like, it's not impossible. You cannot be feeding these people that literally don't know how to put meals together to nourish them. You cannot be feeding them huge amounts of rice, a tiny bit of meat if you're lucky, and then maybe like 2 pieces of vegetables a day. Like, I know I can't be eating salads because, or like, I could. Again, it really depends on the amount of fat in the meal and so on. But you can't, if you're trying to gain a large amount of weight, it's not beneficial for you to eat like huge amounts of vegetables, because it's going to cause further digestive issues and it's going to be a load for your digestive tract. But you cannot be having literally like 2 vegetables a day. Like, the body cannot be recovering on so little vitamins, and that was like a huge issue for me. That I, like, my whole life, even before I had a problem, I was used to a very colorful diet, a balanced but colorful diet, and when I came into the hospital, I just remember I felt like shit.
Yeah. Well, that is the thing that I don't get, because I feel like the doctors, it's correct. Like first month, or how long were you in the hospital?
I think I was there for, in the hospital, actually, because I get released earlier into like hospital mode at home. That's what I call it,
Yeah,
because I had
yeah.
the exact model of a hospital regime, but at home, and like my parents were like my nurses, which was very tough for all of us. But on the other side, I think it's better for me than if I were to stay at a hospital for 3 months.
Definitely, yeah.
That was like a bit nicer because I had my usual environment. I was at home, I was with my dog, which I talked about in the last episode a lot.
That was my question. So, like, I get it that in the beginning, they had to feed you like a lot of carbs, right? So pasta, as you said, rice, bread. But I don't get why later on, when they saw that you were recovering, why didn't they like actually teach you the right diet? You know, the modern ones, where there's like a lot of protein and everything is balanced. Why didn't they teach you that? That is
still
the
don't
thing that I don't get,
understand.
because you had the problem of not being able to come up with correct diets. So feeding you only carbs and gaining weight for you, yes, that's what you need. But they have to teach you the mistakes that you did previously, right?
Yes,
I feel like they didn't do that.
exactly. If I stayed on the diet that they sent me, I would not be able to sustain any long-term results, like any, not performative results at school, in sports, any like field in life. Now that I'm working with a different dietitian, and I think she's really top of her class, and she has a completely different approach to nutrition compared to like the Czech dietitians I was getting at the hospital. And she has this like really complex perspective on nutrition. She has a lot of knowledge, and because I still go there not because I would be having an issue with like food, like starving myself. Um, but I go there because I am fixing some of the issues that I have from my past bad behaviors. And she has all this knowledge that I never would have even encountered, and wouldn't like, no one would tell me all this information if I never switched up dietitians, which feels crazy to me. She studied in the US, that's why she has all this knowledge, but she can explain why you need to eat this and that so in so much depth compared to what I was used to. And it feels like everything has a reason there, and she makes your meal plans so well constructed. Like, even if I have an increased amount of food right now, I don't feel bad. I feel good in the process, and the structure of the meals is so, like, they are so well structured that, you get all the protein, you get all the healthy carbs, but in like good proportions compared to what I had in the hospital, and even after hospital when I was like released into home regime. My mom had to like basically follow the recipes from the hospital, like the same amounts of the food, similar meal structure, I'd say. Like, it was a little better, of course, like it tasted better, but it was still really similar. And even like the snacks, it was all this like ultra processed stuff, which for some reason they thought that I had to eat, otherwise I wouldn't gain weight, which is stupid. Like, you can gain weight of excess of anything.
Yeah.
And it was like so stupid that, you know when you're eating like so much added sugar, it actually does make you feel bad. And especially if you're not like, I wasn't eating any sugar before I got into hospital. Like, that was one of my big food rules, I'd say. Like, now, I'm not saying that I'm eating sugar 24/7, obviously not. But if I want a sweet treat, I get it. And when I had the issue with food, I didn't allow myself to. So when you suddenly start eating, it's like with anything, any large change in a short amount of time. When you start eating all the sugar, you feel so tired. You're exhausted, even though you should be feeling energized because sugar is a quick absorbing carb, but your body is just not used to it, and it, in such excess, it makes feel anyone bad. They themselves couldn't justify the reason why I was supposed to eat this. They were just following some sort of table that they got in the hospital and the table is there for like the past 70 years, and it's just so not updated. And as you said, it's just not according to the modern diet and not according to what we know now, opposed to 70 years ago when we knew basically nothing about nutrition.
Yeah. If you had the nutritionist, right, would she even be allowed to help you if you were in the hospital and you were supposed to like be following their plan? Like do you get my question? Like you were supposed to be following the hospital's plan. But if you had a nutritionist and you were like following also her plan, wasn't even allowed? Or
if I was in the hospital at that time, I wouldn't be able to do that because yeah, you just have to go with what they give you, and then they have their own dietitians that kind of like control how much you're given. But I feel like if I had her earlier, I might have not gone into hospital at all, because even now, like having to increase my food in a different type of way, but increase my food. Again, I obviously wasn't happy about it. It took me some time to process it and accept that I had to do it again differently and not in such an uncomfortable way again, but I had to do it obviously. But this time it was my choice, and it was my choice because she kind of talked me through it, and she talked me into it, and it made me kind of want to start the process on my own. So I feel like if I had her earlier, I maybe would have been motivated and disciplined enough to recover without the hospital. But even now, if like whenever I have an appointment with her and I talk about my past, especially about my hospital past, she's like the second number one hater to what I had to go through, because I had to gain so much weight in such a short period of time, which is not only mentally hard but obviously even physically hard. And that's why many people, I say this a lot, but I think that's why many people relapse after hospital, and they have to go to hospital again, obviously, because they lose all the weight again, and they just never really get healthy, not mentally, not physically, anything. When you're like, just, you have this goal of gaining as much weight in the shortest amount of time possible, and you do that because people around you want you to do that. But you, in your own self, your own mind, your body, you know that you don't want that because you're still sick, and you haven't accepted that you cannot stay in this sick version of you anymore. So obviously when you gain the weight, they release you from hospital, you feel amazing because no one is watching you, and you relapse because you don't feel comfortable in your body. And this is sadly how the system works. Whereas if you took it slowly, which yes, it takes longer, but these usually it's like with any task like this.
Yeah, you just have to when you learn things.
Yeah, when you take things slower and properly, they usually give you long-lasting, long-term results.
Yeah,
and I feel like for most people, this is why they relapse, because they're forced to do everything so quickly, do drastic changes, and they just jump into the old regimes and the old habits they had before recovery as soon as possible. So the pain of the few months that they're gaining weight leads them nowhere.
Yeah, maybe the hospital just has too many patients, and their task is to just get rid of you as soon as possible.
I get that point. However, on the other side, I feel like they are closing up. This sounds horrible, but they're closing up people that don't even necessarily have to be in the hospital. Or like, for example, I didn't have a relapse, thank God, but there was this like little time, a few months, when I was like slowly losing weight. I wasn't even like trying to actually, but it was just, I had to settle in with kind of introducing movement again, and expending more energy means that you have to make slight changes to your diet again. So it was like this whole complicated process. So while I was in that kind of relearning process, like after the intense part of recovery, I lost a tiny bit of weight. It was literally like insignificant weight. And I remember going to another psychiatrist checkup, and she was like, "You lost like a little bit of weight, but if you don't gain it back, until the other another appointment, which was a month apart, I think. Yeah, I was going there every month. I will have to put you into hospital." And I was like, "Why are you doing like that's so unnecessary? Like I'm not anywhere near I was when I was at my hospital admission weight. I don't feel like I'm getting my bad thoughts back. I was telling her how I'm feeling great in my body, how I'm feeling socially great, how I feel great reintroducing movement again, but like in a good way, not in a way of punishing myself. She ignored all these things that I said to her, and she just kept saying that if I don't gain the weight back, gain that certain amount of weight back, she will have to put me back into hospital. And I felt like that was so absurd. Like there are so many more people that needed more. At least like when you're really really underweight, I'm not saying it's the ideal way to gain weight again, but it does save your life. Like if you're in a really low point, it does save your life. And it just felt like so unnecessary, and it was unnecessarily stressing me out as well.
Yeah. And just to like sum up all this hospital things and everything, did you go through depression? Maybe because of you not being able to do sports, you not being able to see your friends, not being able to do like those usual activities that you do. Was it like it had to be like hard on your mind, right? Like how did you deal with this? I have asked this question previously, but like from a different point of view.
100%. It was very very hard. I was never diagnosed with depression. I wouldn't say I had depression, or like I don't really know how people diagnose depression and how they differentiate between like depression and like just being at a low point. But it was extremely hard. Like I lost the entire summer basically, and the illness as a whole has long-term effects on your body, which I'm dealing with right now. And it even the illness itself lasted a couple years before I went into recovery. So that also worsened your mental health. During that recovery, I could see friends. I can really go out and do anything because
You were not
any movement was bad movement. Like I couldn't go even like on walks. I had a 15-minute walk at a very slow pace, and then I could just like lay around the house day by day in the hot summer days, and just it felt like my entire point of life was eating. And yeah, that does make you very sad, like I guess almost depressed, but I was never diagnosed with it, and I never had to have antidepressants, which I'm really glad I didn't, because I know many friends in hospital that did have to have them because they just were at such a low point that they couldn't eat the food, because just not that their mind didn't allow them, they were just like crying through the entire meal. And the antidepressants, I don't think that they actually like help to treat depression, but they do help with you crying less, because they it sounds bad, but like they do numb you. They like they numb your brain, so you're kind of numb socially, and even during like meal times and post meal, when we had these like laws that you have to stay in your room for an hour just to prevent anyone throwing up and so on. So when you're lying in bed, so that they prevent you from crying, I guess. So yeah, they numb you, but I don't feel like they are a solution, again, a long-term solution to anything. So I never had those, thank God. um but I feel like that if I didn't have my dog, I would have probably fallen into full-on depression. He kept me really really motivated, and he even like uplifted me in the moments when I felt like nothing could uplift me. So that was really helpful.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. I remember from last time. Now, for the second part of this episode, we will be talking about the lessons and long term effects that this whole journey, if we can call it, had on you. So, do you still have some lasting consequences that you have to deal with? Maybe some health ones. Maybe you're a nutritionist. It's not a consequence, right? Like, she does help you, but
she is helping me.
yeah, but you have to go through that. So is there like something else?
I would maybe start with the less obvious ones, which are tough family relations. And it's a very, very personal topic, so I don't want to dive too deep into it. But of course, like, it is a hit for your family when your entire family is basically being told that you may die any day. And then you're being admitted to hospital, and everyone is kind of like mad at you because they're scared for you, but on the other side, they don't really know how to deal with it, so then they are mad at you, they guilt trip you, and they say very mean stuff to you, and you can really never forget those things that they say. Um, or like, I will never forget it. And I feel like for most people, if you love your family, you will never forget the mean comments that I got. I don't want to be saying them out loud, but it was really hard for me to go through that because, like, I was being told these things basically every single day, and they were guilt tripping me, and they told me, I chose this illness to seek attention, which I hate when people say this because it's such bullshit. And, this kind of does mess up your relationships because if it lasts for many, many months, then you can't really forget it. You can forgive, but you can't really forget. So we're still fixing those pieces and piecing the relationships together. And why I'm seeing my nutritionist is that I'm currently going through low energy availability. I lost my period, which is quite significant consequence of underfeeding yourself for a long time. And right now I'm going through low energy availability, which translates into RED-S, which is relative energy deficiency and sports syndrome, which, by the way, doesn't have to be for only women in sports, or women, by the way. Obviously, a man won't lose his period, but he will have other hormonal issues, and he can have RED-S. But it also then affects my training schedule and how much I can and cannot train currently. It's not forever, thank God. And that's why I'm seeing my nutritionist. And that's why I'm having to increase my food again. But it doesn't necessarily mean gaining weight. And this is such a complex topic, and I'm obviously not a dietitian myself. I know a lot about it from personal experience, but I don't want to be going to it that deeper. We can link some episodes about it maybe from other people, from other professionals about it, if you'd be interested in the topic. But yeah, those are like my main kind of consequences because I feel like I've gotten over all the ugly stuff, and I've kind of dealt with anything I was dealing with previously. When I was really deep into the illness, I was losing a lot of hair. I had super brittle nails. I obviously was exhausted all the time. I had super, super low blood pressure and heart rate. I still do, but that's for a different reason, kind of, because I have low blood pressure, like, genetically. My grandparents have it, my mom has it. It's a genetic thing. It's a genetic thing. And for my low heart rate, I don't have it as low as I used to, and now I have it more because of all the endurance training and the running that I do. When I was deep into the eating disorder and I was in the hospital, I had low heart rate because obviously my body was saving energy where it could. So I had even like lower heart rate than I do now. And I had like even more hormonal issues than I do now because I still have low estrogen and stuff like that. But in the past, I would have like all of my hormones were almost zero. Like even hunger, fullness hormones, happiness hormones, stress hormones, like all of it was completely off balance.
You're just a neutral person. The definition.
Totally. My body composition was obviously completely out of whack. And you can just imagine how a person feels like when you have no energy to literally stand up. How are you supposed to have energy for studying, for friends, for family, for anything socially related?
Especially now in teenage years when you literally want to do everything that you see.
I know. I know.
But on a positive note, I think you should be happy that all of like the actually hard journey in the hospital and everything is over. Now you actually understand the topic, you know what you're doing, and even now, as you said, you have to very simplified even more. But you don't have to gain weight. You just have to get your period back, and then your journey is basically over. So I feel like that is really positive, and you should be happy for that.
It is. But I was actually thinking, this is kind of off topic, but I would maybe work with my dietitian even a little bit afterwards I get my period back, because she's so amazing, and she does a lot of professional athletes as well.
That's really cool.
And yeah, I was like, we also talk about it on our appointments sometimes, that, you know, once this is fixed, we can focus on more of the exciting stuff in nutrition, which is training and eating with your cycle. You know, eating to actually like properly fuel the training you're specifically doing. So obviously I still am doing that kind of like right now, but my training is a little modified than what it would be in a normal state, in a healthy state, I guess. So we can focus more on that, and there's just so much more that you can focus on once your health baseline is fixed. So I'm really excited.
That's beautiful. I love that. If you get to that point, which I hope is going to be really soon, I really want to know all the info, because
Oh my
you know
God, yes.
the synchronizing your diet with your cycle. I like know so many people that have books about it, but you don't. You have to buy it. It's not for free, and especially there's so many of them that I don't know which one to choose. So like I think that your nutritionist is a really good person, and I think she actually knows what she's talking about, right? So if you get to that point, and very soon, then I really want to know all the details.
Of course.
I think that's gonna be very fun. Okay, and just to close up this lessons and what you learned, if you could compare your body and your form from now and when you were at your lowest, what are like the biggest differences? I know they can be obvious, but there are probably some not the difference that are not that obvious. So
I would like to start with how I feel rather than how I look. Obviously, I have more energy right now. Like, that's quite self explanatory and obvious, and I don't feel like I have to go over these like basic things. But I finally learned to love myself again. Like, it seems so simple to say, but it's really not. Like, if you have gone through anything remotely similar to an eating disorder, you know that you hate yourself for anything you do. Like, actually anything. Even the stupidest thing, like, I don't know, walking behind your friends instead of next to them. Like, it's these little things that you just end up overthinking and hating yourself for and beating yourself up for. And now I just feel like I can be myself without feeling too judged, without hating myself, without feeling scared of what other people think. I'm not scared of taking up space, like mental space and physical space, because when I was deep down into the eating disorder, I was trying to take up the least space possible and not just like be as skinny as possible, but also like feel invisible, I guess. I didn't just want people to notice me. I had no social energy for them, so obviously I didn't want to talk to them, and I wanted to just avoid everyone at all times. And yes, I am an introvert, but not to a point that I would like literally avoid humanity. That's insane. I also feel like I am able to appreciate my body for what it can do instead of how it looks. And I also feel like I'm not dressing up for other people, just for myself. And I don't spend hours over analyzing what I'm wearing, how I look, spending hours in front of a mirror, saying bad things to myself, and it just feels like I have so much more time and energy to spend on things that actually matter. And instead, when I was at my lowest, I was just like spending so much time over analyzing like how my body looks at that moment and trying to find problems to fix, but then the only coping mechanism that I would think that would fix my problems was just like eating less. So it didn't lead to anywhere. I ended up hating myself even more, and it was just this cycle that I was caught up in. And then for the looks, obviously, I gained a lot of weight. But I feel amazing and I feel so confident, and I can't believe that I was walking on this earth with my lowest weight, because it is so crazy to me. I also keep repeating this, but when I was at that lowest weight, I never saw myself at that lowest weight. I saw myself looking the same way that I looked 3 years before, when I didn't even lose any weight and my problem was already like going on, but I didn't lose any weight back then. And when I was at my lowest weight, I just, people around me were telling me, I'm super skinny, which also isn't helpful, by the way. If you have a person nearby struggling, just don't comment on their body at all, please. It's really,
So
really
even
harmful.
the people commenting, it won't tell you anything.
No,
Like it's not
No, you just-
triggering.
it is triggering in a way that people are focusing on your
Negatively
body,
triggering.
but you still don't believe what they're saying. You're like, you have, it's basically impossible for you to acknowledge that you're actually that skinny, because
That's
you just
insane.
don't see it in the mirror. And now, like, obviously in the mirror I see my real reflection right now, but like, based off of photos, I still cannot believe I didn't see it. Like, it looked so scary. And it's crazy to me that I wasn't scared of myself, because now looking back at those photos, I am scared of what I see in those pictures. And it is insane how much your mind can be manipulated by yourself, or like yourself, by the illness, but it's technically
It is you still.
yourself.
That's crazy. Literally, that's insane. Okay, so now for like the reflection and hopes. If you could go back and speak to the younger self, to your younger self, when you were only beginning to think about what you eat, how you look, and trying to lower everything, what would you say to yourself?
It's not worth it. Because even again, the long-term effects, like, they're so much harder to fix, and they take so much more time, so much of your energy. Even now, like, I have to pour so much energy into looking into what I eat, obviously from a different perspective and with a different goal than what it used to be, but it still does take some of my energy away. And, even though I love my dietitian, I still have to make time for those appointments and prepare for the appointments, because it's very much in detail, the prep and everything, and timing my meals so that it is benefiting my hormones and my organs and my brain, because it's all connected, obviously, your body and your brain. And just keeping myself disciplined in the process of getting myself out of the low energy availability is taking away so much of my energy. And obviously, the whole hospital thing and family stuff, all of this is just never going to be worth a few kilos, if kilos, off of the scale. And it will not bring you happiness. It will not bring you health. Not at all. Like, obviously, if you're overweight and you need to lose some weight, then that's the right thing to do. If you're actually, like, your doctor says that you're gonna have heart problems, you may die because you're too obese, then that's a whole different story. But do it in a sustainable, healthy way, please. But if you're in a healthy body, at a healthy weight, just find different ways to cope with lacking self-love than trying to lose weight and falling into the eating disorder trap, because it will never be worth it, and it will never solve any issues. It might be a short-term solution, but it will never help you in the long run. So what I would do is find a professional, or at least someone very close that that you can talk to about anything openly, and try to spend a lot of time with yourself and with your own thoughts, maybe putting them down onto paper, um, kind of showing some self love to yourself through acts of kindness, going on solo dates, whatever makes you happy, and find a way to make yourself feel better. Just don't starve yourself, please. It sounds simple, but I know it isn't, and it should be discussed more and shouldn't be a taboo, because I feel like it really is right now, right? And people feel awkward even like talking about this, or like they feel like they even shouldn't be having these thoughts, or like shouldn't be talking them out loud with someone. But it's so important to talk about them. And if we pretend that we don't have any of these issues, and that when we try to mask them, they will spread more. There will be more people struggling, and it will just not help us at all as a society. So please, guys, talk about it.
You know, actually listening to, it's really beautiful to see your transformation. Like actually, like seeing it in front of like me, because I remember you, like being in the journey and your mindset at that time, and now your mindset like at this time, and it's so pretty to see it. So I just, is it possible for you to leave your burden in this video? Just let it go and just let go of your past whatever mistakes you've done and just start new. Is it possible? I think that would be so like releasing to you.
I guess I could try it.
That would be really cool. Okay, so to end this episode, try giving the listeners a small message. I know that you have said a message, but like something else maybe to leave a positive note to this.
I would just say that you're capable of so much more than you think you are, and never limit yourself. The only one standing in your way is you, and the only one who can lift you is you. So just remember this, and with that, we will leave this episode off here.
So thank you very much, guys, for watching this episode and watching both of the episodes, because it was really hard to bring this to reality because it took some time for Viola to actually be able to share this. Make sure to subscribe. Leave us a comment if you like these types of episodes, if you want to see something more of this. Give this episode a like. We appreciate every single like that we get. And with that, thank you very much for watching and see you next time.